So we have a little project that we're going to work on. This is an Aria acoustic guitar. Belongs to a friend of mine from the Gold Wing Riders Association. And she says she's having a lot of trouble with the fingers up in here, or cowboy chord area. There's a good reason for that. Taking a quick look, I've got a still shot that I'm going to input here, but taking a quick look, down here, you can see that that's quite high over the first fret. I have feeler gauges, and let's see, standard 18 that I like here is like, gobs too big, and the biggest one I have is 25, which is still quite big. So what I did was I combined the 18 and the 16 together, and it's about 34 thou over here. The one that's actually right is the high E string, and you can see that better. If we move down here to the action height section, get right down there, right in the back there, you can basically see that the E string has about the right amount of action height, and all the other ones are way over. I use this ruler with tape on it, and it's taped off at 4/64, which is where I have all my guitars set for action height, and you can see that that one's likely somewhere around 8, and they're all about the same till you get down here, and this one is just on the, just above, maybe it's 4.5, 5. Get a little thing on that, zingy zing zing. It's very hard to see without extra light on it, but it's there. There's also quite a lot of grime and dirt on the board. The strings are corroded and rusty, so it needs a little bit of work, and so the saddle height will need to come down, and we're going to take care of it. It's quite a nice little guitar. You can see the nut has not been really well installed. When I get the strings off, I'll see if that's actually secure, and we'll go from there. I want to give you an example of what I'm shooting for using my Takamine acoustic. Okay, so here we are. This is my Takamine. If I can find my ruler, wherever I put it, of course I put it where I can't reach it at the moment. So we're looking here, turn it around. So there's my action. That's about 3/64 right there. If we move down to the nut end, this is lower than I would normally try to get. It's under 18, it's about 16 on this side as well, but for whatever reason I ended up with that on working on my guitar. It plays like a dream. It plays absolutely wonderfully. So this is what I'm trying to achieve with the Aria. You can see my nut is much better placed on this guitar. So what I like to do when I'm working on the bridge pins like this is I use my little metal ruler to protect the wood so there's no indentations. I just use this tool here, simple little tool, they're cheap, and just start the bridge pins up after releasing the strings a little bit like that, because they're kind of stuck in there pretty hard, and then once you get them a little bit loose like that, then you can use one of these things. You can just go in there and grab that and kind of like much more easily pull those pins up, get them out of the way. Be able to release the pins. So what I like to do also is put them in order of how I took them out, so that when they go back in, they're common to the hole that they came out of. I don't like mixing them up because they're accustomed to the different gauge string going down through them with the ball. In the past I've found that if I mix them up, I have some trouble getting them back in, especially if you get a really thick one on a really thin one, and vice versa. It can still be tight, so I use my hands in the top of the guitar as a leverage point to be able to pull them out. Alright, let's move these aside. Oh, that one's stuck. That one's okay, that one's okay. That one is stuck down inside. See if I can, whoop, and release it. There we go. Put those aside. Alright. Saddle is a little wobbly. I'm going to make a tiny little line right across the saddle as to where it meets the wood at the moment. Is that marking? No, it's not. This is a 3.3 millimeter. Did I break my lead again? It keeps breaking my lead right there. There's a little notch in the saddle. Did it mark? It did. Alright, I got a mark. It's very, very tiny. It's good for doing that kind of stuff. It's the tiniest one I could find. Oh yes, lo and behold. Don't know if I can actually show how that is in there. I can get this all the way out there without moving it. Alright, let me see if I can tip it up. There's a little bit of a piece of paper shim under the treble side. Now if there's paper under the treble side, that means that there is a really unevenness with this saddle. It's kind of a piece of plastic. That tells me that without this on that side, the treble side is actually too low. And the way this was cut, I can tell. There's still a bit of a burr here. I mean, look at the difference between this side and that side. It's quite significant. I have created myself a tool that kind of looks like this. It's just a flat piece of aluminum block. It may have been seen in some of my other videos. And I have some stuck on. I think this is 320, I'm not sure. I think it's 320. Stuck on there so it's flat, so that when I want to file that down, I'll just run the saddle across it. Can I pull it with my hands? There we go. Iron Man Mike. Just want to run the saddle across it. There's still burrs coming off the bottom of that. Clean those off. And then just little by little, just run it across there and just file it down. So what I'm going to need to do is concentrate more on this side when I'm running it across here, and not the entire length, because this side is already too low because there's a shim underneath that side. So I'm going to have to concentrate over on this side mostly, try to get it flat and take some of that material down little by little. It makes a little bit of dust like that in the light, if you can get it. And then what I do is I just clean that off with a toothbrush and continue working on it to make it go down and smooth. So I'm going to do a little bit of that, and we'll do some trial and error testing, see how it goes. While I'm sanding this thing down, and there's some more of that dust, I just dropped it and I noticed the sound, and then I realized that this is basically a graphite saddle, which is quite a good saddle, even though it's very paddly shaped on the bottom. We're getting down. It's fitting in better. The line has gone down quite a bit. I've made a couple of adjustments. I've come down a couple of 64ths. Needs to come down a little bit more. But if worse comes to worse, I do have a brand new bone saddle that I can replace it with. So not to worry there. The trek continues. So I've stopped on the saddle, because when you start to bring down the nut action a little bit lower, that's also going to lower at the other side of the string as well. And I've got my number 6 out here to just start working on this at a bit of an angle. And yeah, this is a graphite nut as well. So what I'll be doing now is some of this stuff at this angle, and putting the string back on, putting some tension on it, and checking the thousandths underneath the string over the first fret. That's long boring work, off and on, off and on, off and on, and I'm not going to bother boring that in the video. I'm going to do that for each one of the strings, checking them. I'm going to go with around 18 thou for the bass side, 16 for the treble side. EJ 10, 10 to 47s. 10 to 47s. There you go. And these are extra light, and they're a little bit on the bright side. They're all the way up here on the bright side. And I'm thinking that that'll help make the guitar pop a little bit more, and we'll see how it goes. Now, the ones on the guitar are 13s, these are 10s, so the adjustments that I've made on the saddle and the nut for the 13s are good because they're a little bit larger strings. Because these are smaller, that means that the action height and the nut height are going to be tiny little bit taller, and I'm going to check to see what it is, but I'm not going to make any further adjustments on either one of those two, so that I think this guitar will be playable very nicely with these strings. But if anybody ever goes back to a heavier gauge like 13s, it's still relatively set up for that. So next is cleaning, some fret cleanup, some fret checking, polishing, and then finally some restringing.